Hello, and welcome to Clayton Piano Festival. Thank you, Joel. It's good to be with you this evening. My name is Jonathan Levin, and I'm not sure which camera I'm supposed to be looking at right now. This one. Okay, I found you. That's where everyone is. This is the popular camera this evening. Thank you for joining us. This is our 10th season. It's a rather unusual 10th season. We haven't had any seasons like this before where we don't really get to have an audience. Have a couple of people here today, a couple of family members, and general tech crew, but other than that, it's pretty lonely, and that's generally how concerts have been for about a year and a half. So we're very appreciative to everyone who's listening at home, who's joining us, enjoying the music, commenting, and supporting us in all the ways that you can. Speaking of our major sponsors, well, we're in one of the places right now. This is Hopper Piano Company, a very special place to me. I spent a lot of time here as a young music student, very inspired by all the different pianos. And we're very thankful for them to donate this space to us. And you can find the rest of our sponsors on our website. There are the listing of true saints on the homepage, private donors who have given money this past year, which help us support incredible artists like Joel Martin and like Craig Ketter, who you heard a couple of weeks ago, and a whole host of others who are trying to keep music alive. We'd also like to thank the Johnston County Arts Council for their generous donations this year. Our guest this evening, you've already heard him quite a bit. A good friend of mine, someone I'm happy to say is my friend, one of the most talented people I know, Joel Martin. I'm going to let you introduce yourself to people. So why don't we make ourselves comfortable?
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Hopper Piano Company.
Hello, Hopper.
Yeah, you grew up in Raleigh, didn't you? Or
I was born here.
Yeah, you spent some time here.
Yep, born in Wake County Memorial Hospital.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're more Central North Carolina than I am, I guess.
Well, I'm something, but I'm definitely a North Carolinian.
Yeah, and you have a pretty incredible musical upbringing, I think, and you were one of the, I think you were the youngest person to be admitted to the prestigious Van Cliburn piano competition. Yeah. And that was when you were 17 years old.
17, yes.
Pretty incredible. And then you ended up, performing with some of the great names, not only in classical music, but in popular music as well, Stevie Wonder and the Black Eyed Peas, and of course Kathleen Battle.
Yeah. Alan Menken from
Alan
Disney.
Menken, yeah. The list kind of goes on. And so I'm really curious, of course we don't have all night because it really would take all night, but I'm really curious about your upbringing. And was it all did you start just classical, or was always like this big conglomeration of a lot of different styles of music?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm still a classical pianist, and I started as a classical pianist with my mother, my father, who was a band director for almost 40 years. I learned to play tuba under him, and trumpet and percussion, and piano just kind of stuck with me. Yeah. But I didn't really start taking it seriously until I was in my teens. By that time, I'd already done lots of competitions and played in university bands and did recording sessions and learned jazz, and then the rest has just been an exploration of all kinds of musical genres over the last 40 years now. It's hard to believe. Yeah. Yeah.
You seem to keep evolving as a musician.
Well, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
Because I love music, and I love classical, I love jazz. To me, it's just music. Yeah. But of course, you can't make a career saying, hey, I play everything. And so It started off with classical, and I thought I was going to be doing a classical career for the rest of my life. And then it just kind of moved and migrated into jazz. After the Van Cliburn, I moved to New York and started doing tons of recording sessions for pop music, for Polygram Records, and Sony, BMG.
Wow.
And then I did lots of musical theater, the Wild Party with Eartha Kitt. I even acted on The Ride Down Mount Morgan with Patrick Stewart.
Oh, wow.
The Full Monty, Carolina Change, and so it's just music to me. To make a long story short.
Not a lot of subdivide.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough, even doing all of that. And so when I was in my early 20s, I had to figure out, well, what is it that I really do? And I really couldn't figure that out because I did everything. And it wasn't until an afternoon in church in Port Chester, New York, where I started sitting down, and actually you're going to hear one of the pieces in a little bit, of the first piece that I wrote where classical and jazz became one.
Yes.
And my girlfriend at the time said, you know, you should really be doing this. And I said, oh, nobody's going to take this seriously. But she encouraged me to do it. And then a few months later, the term Jazzical came up. And I immediately went to the trademark offices and trademarked this. So the word Jazzical really does belong to me, and it represents the marriage of classical and jazz. But over the 25 years, it has evolved now. It's just a music thing.
Yeah.
And who knows what it is now.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I don't know exactly what your process is, but I've heard you play some of your jazzical arrangements. I would say compositions in a sense, because it seems like there are certain parts of the pieces where you kind of have planned a little bit, but then within that, there's a point where anything can happen.
Right. And
you always leave that possibility open.
Yeah, and that's where all this music comes into play, because you have to, you know, you never get rid of your classical music, no matter if you do jazz or pop music or R&B or rap, you just kind of take it with you and you keep applying it.
Yeah.
So I just merged these different art forms to create the body of work that is now jazzical and beyond.
Yeah. It was pretty surprising how well some of the classical tunes you choose work out also as a jazz melody. The first one, for instance, which was Untitled, the Scriabin Prelude in C sharp, which I grew up hearing Horowitz play that.
Me too.
But you certainly, I didn't even know that that's what it was at the beginning when you started playing. And then I was like, wow, that really works.
Yeah, just come do 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 do. Yes, it just kind of, it's like an organic thing. It's a flower growing, and that's just one of the things I think about when I play that piece.
And so the next couple ones, you have like a couple Chopin nocturnes you do. The E minor one was like one of your first ones.
Yeah, that was the first one that I actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
has that one changed quite a bit over the years? Or
I would probably say yes and no. I've had 25 years to evolve with it.
Yeah.
So as with all things I do, of course I wrote things out, but the language of music is one of improvisation. And every great classical composer improvised on their work all the time. So if they were alive today, what would they be using?
Exactly.
Everything. They would use everything that was afforded to them in the same way that they did in 1600, 1700, 1800, and then they keep passing the musical football to the next guy who says, hey, I think I can do it better.
Yeah. In a way, you're like an extension of the 19th century classical pianist.
Yeah, I think so.
Would kind of do like just what you said, improvise on the newest work. I know there are accounts of, I think Chopin didn't like this so much, but him hearing Liszt play like one of his nocturnes, and the first time he would play it more or less as written, you know, and then whenever he played it again, we knew it a little better, he would add all sorts of stuff. And I think maybe Chopin didn't like that so much, but I think it sounds great the way you do it.
Well, I just like I like playing. I like music, and I mean it sounds very trite and trivial when you say it. I love music.
Yeah.
But in this case, I really do. It just kind of, you know, I can say things in music into the piano that I can't tell a single soul, and know that I'm on solid, firm footing. That instrument will just talk back to me, and we can just commune together. And who needs therapy? I just need to play my piano, guys.
Well, what are the next few pieces you're going to play? The Jazzical pieces.
So I can't remember what the order is.
Yeah, it's all right.
But I
think
know,
the G minor.
Yeah, the
is
G
first.
minor Nocturne of Chopin, which I'll just, as a matter of course, do the original, so you actually hear it, and then you'll see what it turned into.
Yeah.
Then the juxtaposition of Stravinsky L'Histoire du Soldat, the Grand Chorale, that will go into the Chopin E minor Nocturne, which is the first piece that I ever wrote.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then there's Debussy too, right?
Yeah, then there's Debussy's Reverie, which is a whole other thing.
Whole other thing. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
All right.
All right,
Let's do it.
let's hit it, folks. I'm tired.
Time for a break, right? Wow. It's a lot of music.
Yeah.
You pack a lot of notes into just those arrangements.
I like to call it living art.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a woodworking person. They learn a whole set of things and they put it in their toolbox until they're ready to pull it out.
Yeah.
But when it comes to making music, you got to pull them out for very specific reasons, not because you have them, but because it helps get the music across. And also, it's an interesting process because as a pianist, most people don't understand this, is that you have to be your own soloist, your own orchestra, your own rhythm section, and then it has to be interesting.
Yeah.
And not just because I can do it, now I'm going to put it in there. It still has form and substance, and and you just have to just continually weave and craft it as it's going, because if you blow it all in the first part, then
Right.
you have nothing for the middle, and then if you don't do enough in the middle, then you have to make other choices as what do you do at the end, and
So
et
it's
cetera,
a
et cetera.
strategizing type thing.
Yeah, but it's right on the fly.
Are you ever surprised what comes out sometimes?
Yeah, because the more, this is the thing about music, the more information, the more chords, the more runs, the more anything that you do, voice leadings, the more you pull these things out, inspiration takes a hold of you.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that I learned when I was growing up was my teacher blindfolded me. And the reason being is that for 2 hours she would say, well, if you can't see the piano in your mind's eye, then you won't be able to see it when you're looking down and you're playing Liszt B minor sonata.
Yeah.
And it's 35 minutes. It's just no way that you're going to physically look at this and then figure out where your hands are supposed to go. And so,
You can't think of every note as it happens.
yeah,
Like the brain isn't capable of that, I don't think.
yeah, it's like yoga and Tai Chi for piano, who needs therapy? Just go and play and get to know your body, and that helps with the music making. And the more chords you have, the more of the harmonic language. It's like the wild, wild west of music.
Right.
We have it all at our disposal.
Yeah. So I guess the next section is drifting over into actual composition. So basically you're doing this just with your own material.
Yeah.
It's not, how much different is it really from?
Oh, it's very different.
Okay.
So to make a long story short, for most of my life that I've been writing lots of pop songs, lots of jazz things, nothing really in the classical form.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was here in Raleigh about 10 years ago at Enloe High School, Arts Magnet School, great music program.
Mm-hmm.
I did an Arts and Ed program that Terry Dollar of Artsplosure brought me in for. And I was so impressed with the music of this orchestra and the band and the choir that I started writing music, like real music. It wasn't like a jazzical thing where I took Lee Hoybe and turned it into some monstrosity.
Yeah.
It really came from within. It's called the Requiem for Peace, and it's a 35-minute long work. That started the real journey as a writer, as an arranger, as a producer. Because as the music started developing and evolving, my own music, I realized that I was doing all the jazzical things and all the things I ever wanted to do, except that now I have a giant studio that I get to realize these dreams.
Yeah.
And it really changed me, especially in the last year or so, because I don't know if I told you, but I'm a COVID survivor.
Yeah.
And I got sick last March when it first started, and it took me well over 2 months to recover. It was a terrible experience. But while I was recovering in bed, I wrote about 5 hours worth of music. It started with brass fanfares, about 60 minutes worth, and then I wrote another piece for full orchestra and electronica called Running for Your Life, which is a social justice thing. And then because of COVID, which really, I mean, we could spend a whole other day talking about the experience of COVID as it pertained to my life and how it affected our family. But musically, it caused me to write this 13-movement, 73-minute work called Life in the Age of COVID, which details in a musical setting the 13 stages that one goes through when they finally find out that they have the coronavirus. And what happens during this process right up until the fact when the doctor says you're going home. And there's a whole wealth of experience that comes from this. It really changed the music. It gave me form, it gave me meaning, it gave me, it's very hard to explain. But I was able to put all this music back in. And then the last part of this, then I wrote an opera, which happened before COVID, but then it really evolved right after COVID because I was ready to perform it, and you know, I had a great ensemble to do it, and then all of a sudden it was dead. And COVID just kind of killed all that, but it gave me a chance to realize the orchestrations of it, the way I really heard it, and then I did this other thing, which I can only tell you if it's okay if I show this.
I think so.
Yeah.
Can we
just move over to the piano? So I wrote this whole trumpet CD, and it has all kinds of things in it. It's pop, it's jazz, it's